Hi, Dr. Burgess here, and this is Thought for the Day. So this is a good question to ask. Does having your smartphone nearby take a toll on your thinking and therefore your learning? So I'd like you to think about that as a group. So I'd like you to pause the video and have a short discussion, and then come back. So, pros of smartphones for study. Well, obviously you can check your Google Classroom, so you can organise your time effectively in a study period. You could maybe download useful information for some research. You could spend your time wisely reading the news or doing some form of official work related to your A-levels. You could plan and organise your activities. So there are obviously pros of smartphones, and that's why you're allowed to use them in the sixth form. But also there are some negatives or cons of smartphones. You could be interrupted passively by notifications. You might get distracted, so therefore it leads to a lack of focus for extended amounts of time. You might be doing rapid task management that leads to a constant context switching between your phone and between your work. And also something called constant reconfiguring of your brain, going from one task to another. So we've been looking at some research recently that has been published in the newspaper, particularly The Guardian, and I'm just going to highlight a few aspects that were found in that work. So does this constant distraction affect your cognitive ability? So as it says here, if you're checking notifications, apps, social media during study, you aren't only losing the little bursts of time you spend looking at texts, you're losing the time it takes to refocus afterwards. You see, I'm being distracted right now by my mobile phone going off. Anyway, so you could be losing quite a large amount of time, and particularly if you think about your study periods. Your study periods are for 1 hour, but by the time you've started, so you got all your stuff out and you've settled down, and then when you finish as well, it's probably a bit less than that time. But there has been some really good studies. This study from the Carnegie Mellon University Human Computer Interaction Lab. So I'm just going to read a bit of that for you. So in this study, they simulated the pull of an expected cell phone call or email. So they had subjects sitting in a lab and performing a standard cognitive skills test. In the experiment, 136 subjects were asked to read a short passage and answer questions about it. There were 3 groups of subjects. One merely completed the test, and the other 2 were told they might be contacted for further instructions via instant message. So during an initial test, the second and third groups were interrupted twice. Then a second test was administered, but this time only the second group were interrupted. The third group awaited for an interruption that never came. So we had 3 groups: control, interrupted, and on high alert. So we expect the interrupted group to make some mistakes, but as it says here in this study, the results were truly dismal, especially for those who think of themselves as multitaskers. During this first test, both interrupted groups answered correctly 20% less often than the members of the control group. In other words, the distraction of an interruption combined with the brain drain of preparing for that interruption made our test takers 20% worse in terms of the cognitive test. So this got us thinking, and we thought, well, how could we help our students in their study periods related to this kind of constant kind of distraction from mobile phones? Even if you're very good at not looking at your mobile phone, you may be slightly distracted by it. So we've come up with an idea, and we'd like you to have a go at doing this. So we're going to ask for what we call a smartphone holiday. So we're suggesting at least 1 study period a week for starters, and we're going to suggest this. So at the start of a study period, you're going to hand in your sick, tired mobile into the sixth form office. You'll be given a raffle ticket. You need to look after that raffle ticket, and the other raffle ticket will be placed onto your phone. Okay, and then you're going to spend a whole study period focusing on a task in your A-level subjects. So don't worry about your smartphone. It's going to have a wonderful little holiday with Mrs. Rimmer and Mrs. Booth in the sixth form office. Okay, so they'll be nice and safe. And then at the end of the study period, you show your raffle ticket and you collect your phone. You make sure you put the one raffle ticket into the box provided, and you're entered into the prize draw. After a few weeks, I might ask you to fill in a Google form. So we're going to see if this has any effect on your study habits. This is very much a voluntary exercise, but it'd be really good for you to have a go. Definitely have a go at doing this and see if it works for you. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. I will put up some information on the projectors in the sixth form shortly, and have a good day.